Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Effective Resume Thursdays. We're very glad you are with us today. It is April 29th. Hard to believe we're almost the last day of the month. Please note this event is being recorded. It's currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you happen to post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comment, name, and picture to appear. We ask that for those people on Zoom that you go to the speaker view and please have your chat box open like you see there in the lower left-hand corner, and where that red arrow is, you can grab it and drag the back and forth to make the speaker bigger or smaller. If you do have questions, we ask that you use the chat box. Just put them right in the chat box as soon as you think about it. And for those on Facebook, well, there's nobody watching on Facebook right now. So, okay. Well, if anybody was on Facebook, please enter your questions in the comment field and be sure to get those questions answered. All right, we are going to view one or two resumes today. I know we've gotten one already. If you'd like to, have you gotten the second one yet? No. All right, if somebody wants to submit a second resume, if we have time, please delete your header information if you'd like to do so. Otherwise, it'll be on Facebook and YouTube from here to eternity. So if you'd like to submit that, you can either send it in the chat or you can just send it to Carol directly. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started careerdfw.org as a website to help those who were unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I started careerusa.org to help people outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007, and at the end of the session, I will tell you about our upcoming programming that's happening tomorrow. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, which is called the PIT Crew, along with our speaker, and been doing that since 2017. You'll hear more about that in just a second. At the end of this session, we're going to pick two winners who will win a month's use of jobscan.co. So you'll have it for the entire month of May. So please hang around to the very end, and we'll pick a couple winners. All right, well, our speaker today is Carol Brickell. She's a certified professional career coach. She's been doing this, it's hard to believe now, it's been a year, 52, we've done it 52 weeks, and I really appreciate Carol's time. She says this is her fastest hour of the week. So Carol, thank you for being with us, and it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Jeff, for the introduction, and it's absolutely true. Let's see, I don't know if I can share my screen.
Oh, sorry.
I have to get permission to do this.
I have to.
Well, and
I forgot to do it before. We got talking on other things.
Yes. So there we go. There we go. And I'd like to welcome everybody today. Looks like we've got a great group joining us, and people are networking in chat, which is nice. And feel free to share your job title, the type of job you're looking for, and any target companies and people that are watching chat. If you know any of those target companies, reach out to that person and see if you know anybody there that you can help get them introduced. So it's nice to see people networking. And welcome to today's session. And this is usually a two-part type of program where we cover some content at the beginning. And during the second half of the session, I cover one or two sample resumes. And so if anybody would like to submit a resume, you can do that in chat, and you can take your contact information off the top of your resume if you wish to remain anonymous. So so far I have one resume to share. If a second person wants to do that, you're welcome to do that. And go ahead and open up your chat box, because we like this to be fun and interactive. And I'm opening up my chat box, and when you see me looking over here, I'm just looking at my second monitor. And to get everybody warmed up in chat, I have a kind of a philosophical question. When you look at your resume and you look at the bullet points and your professional experience, do you think it reads like a list of duties, of things, responsibilities you've had? Or is it a list of accomplishments, things you've achieved, things you've impacted in the business? Go ahead and type an answer one way or another, or you can type, I don't know, or I'm kind of working on it, and we'll give you some tips about this, but type an answer in chat. Somebody says, hey, mix of both. And sometimes that's appropriate. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to turn every bullet point into a result. Good. Okay, got a lot of people doing accomplishments. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Good. And by way of background, I'm going to be sharing information about resumes based on my perspective. These are just ideas that I've learned along the way and ideas I've learned from other career coaches. And 2 weeks ago, I attended a session by the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches. This is the organization that gave me my certification, and I went to a session about them. So I've picked up tips and tricks along the way, and your job is just to listen to all these tips and tricks and apply what makes most sense to you, because not everything may work for you, and I'm just sharing ideas. And we've got a lot of smart people in the audience. I see some names of people I recognize. And throughout the session, if you have any tips or tricks along the way that you've learned, feel free to type those into chat, because we can always learn from each other. Yes. And in fact, somebody wrote a chat that when they write their resume, they try to focus on results with percentages and numbers where possible to make that quantifiable. So that's a great additional point. So thank you for that. And then, so here's my background, and here's the perspective I offer. I worked for 30 years at an IT firm called ATS that was acquired by Hewlett-Packard in 2008. And I worked there for many years in a variety of roles, and I was always a hiring manager. So I spent many years studying and practicing and mentoring other people on behavioral interviewing. And then I took early retirement in 2012 and got a job as a recruiter because I wanted to really learn how that industry works. And so I had 6 wonderful years and had gained experience both in agency and corporate recruiting roles. And I placed people in a variety of different roles: accounting, HR, finance, sales, administrative, project management, a whole variety of different roles. And then I've been certified by the Professional Association of Resume Writers. And I keep close in touch with my buddies in the recruiting area, especially at Next Step Recruiting, where I retired from in 2019. And these are some of the examples of types of jobs that they're seeking candidates for. And if you don't have a great recruiter working for you right now and you'd like to have one, feel free to reach out to me and I can get you connected. Next Step Recruiting is always looking for people with accounting, finance, HR, administrative types of backgrounds. And they have an IT division as well, but they do a focus on people that are doing coding and programming. Oh, we've got another resume. Thank you. Good, good. It's a master resume, it looks like. Good. All right, so here's our agenda for today, 2-part series. If you've attended or never attended one of my sessions before, one of my resume sessions, write never attended in chat. If you're a first time here, never attended or first time here. We may have some people that have been here before, and we design it so that I have new content every week. There's some certain things we kind of review every time. We have several first time attendees, and so that's why we like to review and cover some basic information. And every week it's different in the second part when we review a couple of sample resumes. So welcome to the first time attenders, and welcome back to those who've attended before. We always try to add interesting new information. So first, a word about applicant tracking systems. These are the systems when you apply online. They're taking your online resume that you're submitting and parsing that data. They're reading the data and putting it into their database. Name, your phone number, your job titles, companies you've worked for. And so you don't want to use any special characters like underlines, boxes, tables, special formatting, things like special customized bullets, pictures, because that can mess up the parsing process. And also some applicant tracking systems don't read the information that's in the header in Microsoft Word. So you don't want to put your contact information there. But you do want to align the language in your resume to the jobs you're applying to, the keywords and skills. And as Jeff mentioned, he'll be giving away a couple of licenses to jobscan.co, which is a great tool to compare your resume to the language in a job description to see if you're a good match. And then also, applicant tracking systems give you the option to upload a resume as an attachment that the recruiter would be looking at and sending to the hiring manager. You can use the same format if you wish, or if you want to have a slightly fancier version for your uploaded version, you can, but then you have 2 versions for every job you're applying to because you need to modify it for every job you're applying for. So that's a personal choice. And the one you upload as an attachment, you probably want to make that as a PDF so it protects the formatting of it. And then often they give you an option to upload a cover letter. And I've read statistically that 62% of hiring managers read those. As a recruiter, I never did. So if they ask for one, it's a good idea to do a cover letter. I just wouldn't spend a lot of time on it. And be sure to include in your cover letter why you're applying for that company. Why is it you're interested in that company? Because that's something that wouldn't be in your resume. That would be a good thing to add in the cover letter. Hiring managers do like to see that. And more advice regarding these ATS systems. There are a variety of different systems and each company implements them differently. So you have to just kind of keep the big picture in mind because you'll hear conflicting information about these different systems. So, so basically just upload a resume that has no special formatting. And if you have the opportunity to review the data to make sure it's been uploaded correctly, that's a good idea to do that. And then the most important thing is don't just rely on the machine, because if you just sit back, upload your resume and wait for a phone call, there's only a 2% chance, on a scale of 1 to 100, 100%, only a 2% chance you'll get called for an interview. So you really need to reach out to a person to increase your chances. And when I say a person, I mean somebody maybe that you know at the company that could forward your resume to the recruiting organization and let them know that you meet the requirements, and specifically maybe a couple of requirements that you meet, or reach out to the recruiter that posted the job. Or if you don't know the name of the exact recruiter, go a step up. Reach out, do some research on LinkedIn and try to find a recruiting leader and reach out to them. Let them know you meet the requirements and maybe specify a couple of the requirements that you meet. So if anybody has any questions or comments about ATS systems, feel free to enter those into chat. So for today, today's theme is common resume mistakes, and I've updated this for 2021 by looking at a few more articles that are out there and combined a few things, and some things are consistent. Definitely review your resume for spelling and grammatical errors. When I talk with my recruiting buddies, we all get really tired of that because we would say about 90% of the resumes we receive have some sort of issue with them, either grammar errors, spelling, spacing issues, alignment of text issues, unparalleled verbs. So please review it or have somebody you trust. The question is, I have a question. In an ATS, it's a PDF okay. It's preferred for the attachment. However, when you're submitting it, you review by the ATS system. Some systems like Workday can't read a PDF. So you probably want to go with a native Microsoft Word document for that. So when you're uploading it, entering the data into the system, native Microsoft Word, but the attached version that a recruiter would be clicking on and looking at, you may want to do that as a PDF so it'll protect the formatting. So thank you for that question. And then in your resume, common mistake is it looks like a list of duties and not accomplishments. And we'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. And then also failure to demonstrate or quantify results is a common mistake. And something I'm seeing more and more from recruiters is too many buzzwords and overused phrases. Sometimes at the top of a resume under areas of expertise, people will say things like strategic thinker, team player, detail-oriented, all these kind of overused general phrases. We want to focus a little more on the professional skills that are required for a job. Like the example I'll be showing you is for a business analyst, things like actual skills that they're looking for, like the ability to gather requirements or improve processes. That's what they're looking for. And then also don't use too many buzzwords, especially buzzwords from your old company, maybe acronyms or jargon that may not be known in the industry or out in the marketplace. So be careful about buzzwords and overused phrases. And then another common mistake is over designing your resume and having columns, multiple colors and boxes. You don't need to do that. Recruiters are really looking at the language. They prefer just black text, simple fonts like Calibri 11 is the #1 favorite font, and really a simple design. And we're sharing a sample with you today. And too much text is a common mistake. So you want to have lots of white space and not too much text. Your bullet point should be 1 line, 2 at the very most. Don't have bullet points that are 3 lines long. And do not use the first person in your opening summary. Don't say, I do this, I do that. Do it in a third person. Now you can use first person on your LinkedIn profile, but not on your resume. And then on your resume, a common mistake is using an unprofessional email like Carol likes kitty cats at rocketmail.com. You want it to look more professional, almost like a professional email like Brickell.carol@gmail.com or yahoo.com. And then another common mistake is not customizing it to match the job. So you do always need to customize and tweak your resume to match the job description. Don't cut and paste the job description, or don't use that trick of copying the job description at the bottom of your resume and putting the text in white. That was a trick that was taught a couple of years ago. Recruiters are onto that. Don't do that. But you do want to adapt the language to the keywords and the key intent about the job description. And then another common mistake is not including your LinkedIn address. You do want to include that at the top of your resume. Recruiters like to see that. And that's one conflicting thing you might hear about ATS systems, whether they can read a hot link or not. I would err on the side of caution and just put it in text. I talked to a consultant who works at Workday, and he says it does throw off the system if you use a hot link in your resume. So I would err on the side of caution. Any questions about that? Any mistakes? Questions or comments? If anybody else has any other ideas of common mistakes in resumes, go ahead and type those into chat. What other common mistakes have you seen or been told? I'll pause a moment, see if anybody types anything in chat. Okay, I'm not seeing anything. Okay, that's good. Maybe I covered all the big ones. Good. Now we'll talk about the concept of a one-page bio. If you have a one-page bio and you've used it for networking, type yes into chat and type maybe how you've used it and any feedback you've gotten about it. And somebody asked a question, do horizontal lines from margin to margin still mean NDoc for ATS? I would avoid those because when I've seen them used, I've actually heard people say it really doesn't enhance the resume or the reading of the resume at all. So I would just avoid using them and just err on the side of caution. But you can test it out. If you apply online and you have a line in there, look at the database to make sure your data got read properly. And do you think adding a phone number, availability to travel, immediate availability should be included in the header? I don't think you should need to say immediate availability, availability to travel. No, in the job description, if it says 75% travel, maybe you put it way at the bottom of your resume, open to 75% travel if it's something really big for that job, but I wouldn't put it at the top. And the phone number, yes, absolutely at the top of your resume, because you want to make it easy for the recruiter to find you. Okay. And has anybody ever used a one-page bio? Yeah, type yes into chat if you have. And the difference between a resume and a one-page bio is a resume really signals that you're looking for a job. And so if you're reaching out to somebody just networking or doing informational interviews, and if you send them a resume, they may say, well, no, I don't really want to meet with you because I don't have a job opening right now. So you may want to use a bio job, which is focuses more on introducing yourself, and it's a softer document. That would be a better document to use when you're doing informational interviews. And then resumes focus on your work history and details and credentials, and you use those when you're job searching. Whereas a bio focuses on major accomplishments and are really more of a multi-purpose tool and good for networking. And several of you may have heard the story that I've looked and looked for samples of one-page bios, and I couldn't find one that was easy to update, but one of my clients had a neat version that he'd gotten good feedback about. So I asked him if I could borrow his format, and I plugged my data into it. And so we've attached it into chat so you can use that as an example. So a one-page bio, basically, it does include a picture because this is more of a social networking document, whereas a resume is a job application document, and it's more subject to employment law issues. So you don't want to include a photo on your resume. But on a one-page bio or your LinkedIn, it's fine to include a picture. And on your bio, you'd want to highlight key areas of expertise that align to the types of jobs you're looking for. And an opening brief paragraph about who you are as a professional. Your professional history, just company names and dates, education, certifications, contact information, and some brief headlines about major accomplishments you've had, and quantifiable if possible. So somebody says they have one of these types of documents and they use it for networking and informational interviews. That's perfect. And then somebody said, should we have a version of our ATS resume for every position we apply to through an ATS? Yes. You want to modify your resume to match the keywords in that job description, especially when you're going through an ATS, because that machine is going to be reading the language and the words and the text in your documents. And then somebody said, should your personal address be included in the resume header? Just your closest major city, if that works in your favor, not your street address, just your closest major city. Now, if you're living in Dallas and looking for a job in Portland, Oregon, you may want to leave it off, but you're in the DFW area, kind of living close to Dallas, you may put Dallas, Texas. If you live in a suburb that people don't know where it is, often maybe one of the smaller suburbs, you may want to put the closest major city. Somebody said, I changed careers almost 5 years ago and now want to return to a career enjoyed. How do I format my resume to accentuate earlier job? Yeah, and to de-emphasize the past 5 years. I've been thinking of I was just talking to Jeff about doing a whole new webinar about transitioning, or maybe have it as one of the themes for one of these sessions. So, and I'll give you a quick answer, and this probably requires more of a discussion. So I'd recommend you talk to some recruiters or trusted advisors about this, or a career coach such as myself about this. You want to emphasize those skills at the top of your resume in your summary and areas of expertise, and maybe have a brief blurb about your most recent jobs. And then maybe, hopefully, maybe even on the first page, you can get to that job that has that kind of experience you are really wanting to emphasize, and put more bullets about that. So I think it's possible to do that. I kind of did that myself when I retired as an HR manager, but I wanted to go to work as a recruiter, which was a lower level job, but that's what I wanted to do. So I emphasized it at the top of my resume, those skills that I had. So I think it's possible to do that. And if you need to talk further, feel free to reach out to a trusted advisor, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn if you'd like to talk about that. And then here's another sample, a sample executive, one-page executive bio. And this was posted on one of the speakers in the conference I attended for the Professional Association of Resume Writers. She calls herself the Writing Guru at writingguru.net. And she has some sample resumes. Some of the samples she has on her site don't look ATS friendly to me, but there are some interesting sample resumes, and she had this one sample executive bio. So that's another layout. Okay. Good. And thank you for those who are networking in chat. All right, Jeff, if you have a couple minutes to talk about your concept of a master resume.
Well, I think a master resume is a very effective tool, and it makes your job search a little bit easier. Maybe not this time, but it'll make your job search easier next time you're unemployed. Because what you do is you go and you create a master resume. Personally, I have a folder that has one copy of all my resumes through every time I change jobs since 1980. And you've updated those things. Well, if you create a master resume, you create one resume that has all that information on it. With every job has 6 or 8 bullet points. You have your supervisors' names, you have street addresses, you have all that detailed information. And then when you see a job description, you take your master resume, you save it as whatever that you're going to call your new one. And then you start eliminating everything that's unimportant, everything that's not on the job description. Because if a recruiter's, all a recruiter is trying to do is match up, here's what I'm looking for, does the resume match? Is it a good fit? So I'm sure everybody's done a lot of really great things, but if they don't ask about it in the resume, in the job description, don't put it on your resume, because the whole object of a resume is only to get you a phone call. Once you've gotten that phone call, you can then give them more details and send them an updated resume with more information. So, by having that master resume, you don't have to think about, well, yeah, I did that back in 1990. Maybe you should list that.
Excellent, good. And we had a comment about that in chat. Somebody else calls it an unabridged resume. So it has all that information. And what you want to do is focus your content on the job that you're applying to. So thank you, Jeff, and thank you for that comment. So now we'll talk about characteristics of good resumes. You want to make it easy for the ATS system and the screeners, like the recruiters and hiring managers, to see very quickly that you're a good match for the job. So you want the formatting to be clean, lots of white space. Overall length, sweet spot for professional resumes is about 2 pages, can go on a little bit longer, and especially for government or highly technical jobs or higher education jobs, they can be a little bit longer. And then number of years, this is kind of optional, and I'll talk through these options, and I'd like for everyone to go into chat and type in a letter corresponding, or and I think we have a polling question too, if we can launch that, either in the polling question or in chat or comments. Enter in whether you show all of your experience on your resume, or if you show B, the most recent 10-15 years, or C, emphasize more details about the recent 10-15 years plus a section called prior relevant experience. Good, I see a lot of people responding. And the funny thing about this is when I applied for a job at the age of 59, I used option A. I showed all of my experience from 1980 on, but I was networking with former bosses, people that knew me. They knew I'd been at ATS forever, and I got the job. But I don't know if that works for everyone to do that. And somebody said A or C, depending on the audience. Yeah, that's true. That's kind of what I did. As a recruiter, I saw a lot of option B. However, I also got a lot of feedback about this from hiring managers. We'd look at the resume and feel like it was chopped off and something was missing about the story, about the person's background. And in situations like that, when I was screening candidates, very often, almost every time, when I asked a question such as, tell me about a time you managed a complex global project, and they gave me an example. When I was working at IBM, I did this big project. And I'd look on the resume, I wouldn't see it there. I'd say, I don't see that. I don't even see IBM on your resume. They'd say, oh, that was so long ago. I didn't include it. So if you think you might be including those stories in a discussion with a recruiter, you probably want to include that under prior relevant experience. And under that section, all you have to do is list the company name and maybe your titles. You don't have to put the dates on your resume. So I found hiring managers actually preferred option C because they felt like they were getting the true picture of the person's career. And then also gives you more flexibility to mention those during the interview. And sometimes it's absolutely fine to tell a story that's more than 10 or 15 years ago if it was a significant project and you can describe the details just like it was yesterday. So anyway, there are different options, and that's my perspective based on my experience, and it can vary. Good. And so now we'll talk through key components of a resume: header, summary, and all these various components. You could have additional components in your resume, but we'll just cover these for today. And in your header, we've had some questions about that. Definitely include your name, definitely include your phone number. You want to be easy to reach by a recruiter. And on your LinkedIn profile, make sure you put your phone number there and put it in the first line of your About section on LinkedIn, because I have been known to move on to the next candidate if I can't find their phone number quickly, because sometimes I'll get a hot job and I just need to reach out to a candidate right away. So be sure your phone number is front and center. And we talked about city, your closest major city, if that works to your advantage, and a professional looking email address and your LinkedIn URL. What do you think about functional resumes? I'll tell you what the experts say at the Professional Association of Resume Writers. Don't use them. Don't use them, because they actually have a pretty bad reputation. Years ago, people would advise people, oh, if you're changing careers or if you have a lot of gaps on your resume, do a functional resume. It'll hide all of that. No. And when I worked as a recruiter, when I would hand a functional resume to a hiring manager, they'd say, no, I need to see the full story. I need to see the chronological resume. So that's my honest answer about that. If anybody else has any additional thoughts about that, let me know. But Professional Association of Resume Writers advises against it. So thank you for that question. Okay. And then also, you don't need to include your physical street address on your resume anymore. Now, one way you can kind of do a little bit of functional stuff on your resume is the summary section, where you can kind of summarize who you are professionally and the areas of expertise relating to the job you're applying to. So you can kind of emphasize those job functions you have, but then still you need the professional experience in reverse chronological order. So you can kind of do a little bit of functional at the top of your resume. And this section here is not an objective. It's not saying, oh, I'm seeking a position where I can continue to grow my leadership skills. What you're doing here instead is summarizing who you are as a professional using language in the target job descriptions that you're applying for. And then as a recruiter, we love to see these areas of expertise and listing about 9 bullet points of key skills that you have that relate to the job. And if you highlight skills like gathering business requirements, be sure in your professional experience down below, you're providing evidence that you've done that skill. And you do want to modify this every time you apply for a job. It takes just a few minutes once you get used to doing it. And then an optional section you can have after that is key accomplishments. And I especially liked seeing this when I was recruiting for sales executives or business development people, when I wanted to see that they had a track record of meeting their targets. And so I wanted to see that summarized at the top of the resume. So this is a good optional section to have if you're in a role, especially where you have to meet a lot of targets. And this can be also meaningful for recruiting types of jobs. I'm going to try to do a trick here. Let's see if I can do it. I did the trick of hiding names of annotators. So in case we want to annotate this. So for your professional experience section, you want it to be in reverse chronological order, easy to read, clean bullet points. The bullet points should be headlines about what you did, 1 or 2 lines at the very most, and the verb should be parallel. Jobs in the past, all of the verbs should be in the past tense, ending in ed, not ing, not with an s, ed, please. I have seen hiring managers toss aside resumes that aren't consistent like that. And also it's recommended to include a 1-line description of the companies, especially if the companies aren't very well known, so that the recruiter can get a better understanding of what industries you've worked in. recruiting and recruiting leaders really appreciate that. And then a little bit deeper information about the professional experience section. Limit your number of bullets to 3, 4, 5, or 6 bullets per job, no more than that, because a recruiter's not going to read them. In fact, I've heard recruiters talk about the 3-word rule, that when they're scanning a resume, they just may read the first 3 or 4 words in the bullet points and just the first few bullet points. And these bullets should focus on results and not read like a list of duties or job description. And I'll show you an example of how you can turn your bullet points into more results-oriented bullets. And I call this the so what game. And this is an actual situation when I was coaching a business analyst about their resume. They had a bullet point where they said this was a marketing person. This is another example. Where they had a bullet point where they said they guided the next phase of brand evolution for a multimedia artist, managed film production. I said, okay, that's kind of neat, but so what? What was the result? What was the impact for your client? And they said, well, actually it increased the business opportunities for my client and it gained them 10 new commissions. So my person I was coaching then was able to start their bullet point with a stronger verb that focused more on the result. So they changed the bullet point to increased business opportunities, including 10 new commissions for my client, based on developing that full social media and PR strategy. And they even modified the language to align with the job description a little bit better. So that's an example of taking a bullet point and asking, so what was the result? What was the outcome? What was the impact to the business? And that might give you an idea of a verb you can use to strengthen that bullet point. And then sometimes, somebody wrote, sometimes additional bullet points are needed to improve the job scan match. How do you account for that? And that's why you want to have the summary section where you mention the keywords and bullet points. And if you have several jobs and like gathering requirements is an important skill, if you can mention that in several jobs, that can do it. So I just wouldn't go overboard. I wouldn't.
I mean, unless the job description is 6 pages long, most job descriptions are 1 or 2 pages. You should easily be able to handle that in 5 or 6 bullet points per job.
I would think so too. Yes. So good. All right. And then if you've had multiple roles at a company, you don't want to justify all those dates for all those different roles, because remember, recruiters are just spending a few seconds scanning your resume. And if they see all the dates justified, it'll look to the recruiter like you're a job hopper. So instead, what we recommend is put the full dates that you're with the company and then the dates for each of the roles that you had up against those job titles in parentheses. So that way it shows a better story and shows that progression within the job. And then somebody said, what is the ratio of quantitative or numbers to non-quantitative in your achievements? Do as many as you possibly can. Some roles it's easier, like for sales quotas, if you have a job that's very quantifiable. Sometimes it's difficult to do that. So I would just say do as many as you possibly can.
Results sell. Results will get you phone calls.
Yes, yes. So as many as you can. Yeah, without making up stuff. Okay. Good questions there. All right. And then also at the bottom of your resume, education and software skills. And this is something that was talked about in the conference that I attended a couple of weeks ago. And I had this question yesterday in a session. Should, if I have a really cool degree, should I include it at the top of my resume? And the answer is, if you have several years of professional experience, the answer is no. If you have several years of experience, you want to start with your professional experience and put the education towards the bottom. Recruiters are just used to that. If they see the education and degree at the top of the resume, that signals to the recruiter and hiring manager that you're a recent college grad. So, so that's just something to think about. So usually you put the education at the bottom of your resume, and then also software skills. Unless it's a highly technical job, you might want to emphasize technical skills at the top of your resume. And you want to align these to the skills that are required in the job. And if you don't have a degree, don't say you have a bachelor's or an associate's. I just put the school, city, state, and maybe the major or area of concentration and maybe the number of hours. And then I love this slide. This really demonstrates the process that you should go through every time you're applying for a job. And even when you're deciding whether to apply for a job. On the left, we have a job description. And what I recommend is that you study that job description for a few minutes before you apply. And I've done this several times, or I do it a lot of times with people that I'm coaching. And sometimes when we spend a few minutes studying the job description and the requirements that are at the bottom of the job description, sometimes we decide, oh, maybe this isn't the best job to apply for. They're looking for a different type of person. So it's a good exercise to go through. But the main thing you want to do is really study the requirements. At the lower part of a job description, it may have a heading like, here's what you bring, or key requirements or qualifications. Really study those. Look for the skills they're looking for, like in this case, Agile, Scrum. If you have those skills, put those on your resume. Software skills, they're looking for Visual Studio. If you've got that, put it on your resume. Also look in the description, see what's at the heart of this job. What do they want you to do? Document business requirements. If you've done that, put that front and center in your job summary, at the summary. Okay, good. Good. So I do highly recommend doing this. It'll give you a better match with the ATS. And then also the recruiter will go, good, a business analyst. That's the kind of person I'm looking for with these skills. Excellent. So I highly recommend that. And then somebody asked the question, what you do, same as what we are looking for. Maybe not. Usually a job description has a list of responsibilities. Here's what you will do on the job. And then there's a section called, here's what we're looking for in terms of response or requirements, job requirements. Usually here's what you're looking for. You need to meet most of those job requirements. And then also, here's what you'd be doing on the job. It's important and good to be able to tell stories about doing those types of things as well. So it's extremely important to match the requirements. And also it's important to be able to tell stories about doing the things you'd be doing on the job as well. Because the interviewer is going to ask behavioral questions to look for evidence that you can do the job.
And one other point is it's pretty important to make sure that the title on your resume is what the title that they're looking for.
Yes, yes. And that helps the ATS and helps the recruiter go, yeah, that's the person I'm looking for. Now, if you're an HR generalist and you're applying for an HR manager job and you've never done that job before, you may need to finesse it a little bit. You may have to say, an HR professional or something. You don't want to falsify what you are, but explain that you can do the skills. So you have to be a little careful about that. And there's a couple of schools of thought about that. Some career coaches say it's okay to put that there, even if you've never had that job title. So it depends a little bit. But if you're a business analyst and the job title is business analyst and you've had that job title, absolutely. Same company. Okay, somebody made a comment. Okay, good. All right, so we've got some few minutes here to share some sample resumes, and thank you to those who've already submitted resumes. Okay, let me get into share mode. Get out of here. Let me see. Oops. It's in a weird part on my screen. Okay, I see what it did. Okay. It was on a different part of my screen. We'll do this and see if this works. Somehow it defaulted to mine. Okay, I'm going to do a new share. Oh, let me do this. There we go. All right, can you see the resume? Okay, great.
We can.
It's on my other screen for some reason. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is scroll down the resume, and I'd like for everybody to look at it. And if now that we've talked about formatting, if you have any suggestions or things you like about the resume, go ahead and type those into chat, because now we have people have learned about resume writing. So I'm going to scroll down this. I see there's a job title at the top. Good. And it's summary description, core competencies and achievements, professional experience. Okay. Some jobs. Okay. Previous work experience. Okay. And technical summary. All right. And education. Lots of great skills here. This is actually at first glance is quite good. It's cleanly formatted. I do worry about these headings for the ATS version of the resume, if that would throw it off. You may, if you do use this when you're applying online, double check the database to make sure everything got parsed okay. So I would tend to take off these borders. And so there's a combination here of core competencies and achievements. And I do like the core competencies are bolded. And these really aren't achievements. These are statements of job duties. Well, proven track record of managing. So recognized for expertise. Okay. Proven ability.
I think I would just list the things that are in bold, list those as, you know,
competencies.
You're right.
Yes.
List those, and all the details should be down in your job description. I mean, should be down underneath the jobs.
Right, because that's not a lot of white space there, and a recruiter really isn't going to take the time to read these things.
They want to see if you have the skills.
Right. And they're saying achievements, but they sort of are. They aren't really. I'm not seeing any data to back these up as achievements. Okay. And then these read as duties, provided administrative support. I would say, so what was the impact that you made for these people? Did you help them do something more productive, or did you increase efficiency for the organization or something? Dates. It's causing me as a recruiter scanning your resume to have to work a little bit to read because I want to be able to see at a glance your job history and longevity at companies. So I'd like to see these dates right justified, and I'd like to see them, this whole line in bold, so it's really easy to scan. And for example, the Fannie Mae job, I'm glad you have it 2001 to 2018, that's great. But I'd rather see you right justify this so I can see at a glance. You were there for a long time, but for these jobs, these were the dates closer to the job titles. So I'd recommend structuring it more like we do in the sample resume we provide. Otherwise, you're causing the recruiter to spend a little bit of work.
Yeah, play the so what game.
Yes, on these bullet points. Drafted, repurchased, something, whatever. What was, so what? What was the impact? And this is a lot of bullet points here. Oh, this is kind of cool. Consistently achieve. Okay. Verb.
Achieved.
Yes. Yeah. I've known hiring managers to throw out a resume. Even though this is an excellent resume, I know hiring managers that would throw this out based on that error, just a grammatical error. So, and the reason they would probably read that one is because there is a number there. It's quantifiable, yet there's an error in there. So you achieve quality metric goal for processing loans. I would put that fix the error and put it like way up top. That's great.
And the next one too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're showing results. Results
yes.
are what's going to get you a phone call. So please,
yeah, those are good examples of results there. Good. And I don't know about technical summary. These are software skills. Yeah. Okay. QuickBooks training. Okay. That's kind of an interesting way of doing that. People have asked me, what if I've just taken a training course, but haven't really used it? Training courses. I would say training courses or something. Yeah. That's kind of a creative way of keeping it on your resume, but being honest. And maybe what you could do is set up your budget for your home and apply it on the job. And then you could just put that you've used QuickBooks. Yeah. Okay.
Carol,
Yes.
I have a question. The way my mind works is when she's presenting the company itself, then she says something, puts a line up and down, says something else, which is, my mind goes that when I hit that up and down deal, my mind stops and then I have to start again. It seems like it would work better if you add just a few more spaces and then justify the dates. It just would, to me, read better.
I'm glad you shared that. And, everybody has different perspectives, how they read things. And actually my brain works that way too. With those pipe things. Yeah, it's like a wall. It stops. I would recommend just putting in the template we provide. We have the company name, comma, city, state, space, and then justify the dates and put it all in bold. Otherwise it's like start, stop. Yeah, that's a good way of saying that. So thank you for sharing that. It's good to hear different perspectives of how we read that. Okay, good. Any other comments about this? Okay, and somebody's asking a question about the difference between ATS resume and a standard resume. ATS, no fancy underlines, bolds, boxes, tables, fancy bullet points.
Well, the easiest way to see what the difference is, take your resume and then save it as a TXT file. And all the formatting and all the pretty stuff will go away. That's what an ATS system is going to do. So
Right.
An ATS just wants that TXT information. So if you ever want to see what it's going to look like, just save it as, and you'll be able to see it.
Mm-hmm. And another way to do that is copy it into the notepad function.
Okay.
Yeah, notepad. Yeah, and you can see what an ATS is really looking for. So, and some of these other special characters can mess up ATS. Okay, I've got 1 minute left. And I'm going to show one more if I can. If I can get it quickly. We'll look at the other one real quickly and I'll make a couple quick comments. And share. Okay. Share, there we go. Here we go. Okay. I know I just have like 1 minute. So we've got name, contact information, summary of qualifications. I would add just a 1 or 2 or 3 line summary, just to kind of showcase your writing skills at the top of your resume. And quite a few.
Hey, Carol,
Yes.
in that regard, I attend a lot of executive job networking groups, and they have strongly recommended to do away with that and go to this table format.
And why is that?
Because recruiters don't read sentences.
Okay. So that's an additional perspective, and I have heard that from that executive group. So I'd say go with, with what you think is best for you, and then also check with recruiters that are actually reading your resumes too, to see what they think as well. Yeah. Okay.
Do we need the slash at the end of your LinkedIn profile? I don't think we need that last slash.
Yes. Okay. And Mike, have you gotten advice about that from any specific recruiters? Have any recruiters say take away that opening?
Yes.
I put it on the bottom.
There's 4 or 5 or 6 recruiters that attend these meetings, and
Okay. Yeah. So so there's a couple different perspectives on that. So,
yeah, a lot of them are in the accounting and finance arena.
yeah. And I often see more than 9 for accounting finance types of jobs because there are a lot of job skill requirements. So and Big 4 job skill requirements. And Big 4 is big.
A lot of softwares.
And the recommendation is to have this particular number, especially for people that have, are further down the line in their careers, and you rank them top to bottom, left to right. And you can do that based on the job description.
Right. Now I'm looking for software.
And see, and I took Lotus off of mine because that ages me, right?
Yeah. So I don't see software listed. I think I would cut down on the affiliations because I'm like, oh, you're too busy to work. That would be my reaction to that. And add software relating to the jobs that you're applying for. Okay. And I think we're out of time. Yeah. So we can do that drawing. Thank you so much for sharing your resume. Sorry, we didn't have much time on that. If you have any follow-up, thank you for that. Okay.
So Carol, thank you very much. For those people on Facebook, and if anybody needs a copy of the bio, the resume, the T-cover letter that we have, if you didn't get it out of the chat box, please send me an email to resume@careerdfw.org. Let me know what you're looking for, and I will be glad to get those out to you. Usually it takes, I don't usually check that account every couple of days. So, it may be Saturday before I get back with that information. All right, we're putting on Career DFW, we're putting on training 5 days a week. Today was our 259th workshop we put on since COVID started. So thank you for being with us today. Tomorrow at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group at 9:30 in the morning, PJ Dunn will be with us. He's an excellent speaker. He's going to talk about Strength Finders, which is now called Clifton Strengths, and Core Clarity, how to talk about, how to use the results that you get when you take that test. I think it's very, very effective. It's always a great presentation, and PJ is very, very good about what he does. Next Monday for Networking Mondays, how serving turns into networking opportunities. Heidi Torres will be with us. When you volunteer, you have an opportunity to make networking contacts. How do you do that? Next Tuesday, our LinkedIn presentation is how to use LinkedIn for job hunting, strategies to get results. Next Wednesday, we're starting our 13-part Everything You Want to Know About Interviewing session. Be session number 1, preparing to be interviewed, how employment recruiting works, and developing interview tools. So just join us for that 13-part series starting next Wednesday. All those sessions, Monday through Thursday, start at 1 o'clock Central Time. So get your lunch and have lunch and learn with us. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page, and in a couple hours, I'll have it uploaded to the Career USA YouTube channel. Please follow us on Facebook. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Every time we post a new video, you'll be able to go back, and you can go back and watch the videos to get as much detail as you need to. On the Career USA YouTube channel, it looks like this. Pick whatever subject you want, but don't click on the video, but click down where you see that red arrow where it says View Full Playlist. And when you do that, up will come a list of all the events. Should be from newest to oldest. If not, click on the little sort button up there. But you should be able to then find the topic and the theme that we're talking about for each day's topic. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops and you'd like to join the mailing list, please send an email to Career USA, the +sign subscribe at groups.io. You only get 6 or 7 emails a week. I control it so you won't ever be spammed, but you will get the daily Zoom link along with the topic for the day. All right, so what we want to do now is we're going to give away a month of unlimited use of jobscan.co in the chat box. We need everybody to pick a number between 1 and 100, and it's the 2 closest numbers without going over. So we're playing Price is Right rules here. Closest without going over. Less than 100, haha. Okay, keep going here. Oh, somebody's picked the number. We've got at least one right on the number there. All right, anybody else? Going once, going twice? All right, let's see here. Our winning number is 62. So I know we had somebody pick 62. Michael Schmidt picked 62. And let's see here. Who else is next closest?
There's a 58. Let's see.
Yeah, it looks like 62 and 58. So who was that? Fred and Michael, please put your email address. Please put your email address in the chat box so I can get that copied, and you'll get an email probably on Monday with how to use it for the month of May. So for everybody else, thank you very much for being with us. Please know, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We don't have any full or part-time employees. Carol's a volunteer, I'm a volunteer. We survive on donations. It helps pay for all the things that we have to pay for. Please consider making a donation when you get your next job. So thank you for joining us today. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow morning or one day next week. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Jeff. And thanks, everybody. And thanks for those that shared your resume.